Hey, what's up YouTube? Walt's How To's and Reviews. Today I'm going to be covering what kind of vacuum should you buy. Now, I'm covering this topic because I actually have a lot of experience with different kinds of vacuums, and I've lived in a lot of different places with different floor types, so I feel like I know a little bit about this. I used to actually share an office with a cleaning business that would go through vacuums on the regular, and another big reason I'm making it is most of the information and videos I see out there are saying, hey, this particular brand or model number is the best kind of vacuum, but what I actually think is more important is the actual style and kind of vacuum for different kinds of uses. You know, for instance, there's 3 different kinds of vacuums here. This is your traditional upright vacuum that has a cord. This is a cordless stick vacuum, and then that's a robot vacuum. And they're all great vacuums, but depending on your specific situation, one is going to be better than the other for just different needs and wants. I was going to cover the different kinds of vacuums there are, go over a couple different categories and just say, you know, good, better, best for the types of vacuums for each category. And then lastly, I'll just give you some general guidelines. You know, if you're in this situation with these kind of needs, I think you should go this route, versus if you're over here and you've got these needs in this kind of flooring, go this kind of route. And hopefully by the end of the video, you'll have a much better idea of what kind of vacuum you should buy. I'll definitely put links in the description. So let's cover the different kinds of vacuums there are. So this is a traditional upright vacuum, and yeah, I'll give you a brief rundown of it. These are plugged into the wall. Now, one thing to note about these is if you have something other than carpet, you want to make sure, unless you're planning on just sweeping and mopping, you know, your other styles of floor, that these work on those, because some of the more cost-effective ones actually don't work on that, and you try to vacuum up some coffee grounds that you spilt or something, it's just going to blow the dust everywhere and it's not actually going to work. So make sure you get one that works for that if that's what you intend to use it on. Now, back in the day they used bags. Most of them are switching over to a canister style, and that's really not too important other than, you know, the bags is an ongoing cost. And then if you're somebody who is really particular about having clean air and doesn't want, you know, you're sucking up the vacuum, sucking up the dust and just blowing it in the air, you want an airtight seal, that sort of thing, or maybe you have allergies and it's really important to you to have that, then you'd want to find a vacuum that has an airtight seal and has a HEPA filter. And if you're trying to be more cost effective, you can actually get HEPA bags, and you know, it's an ongoing cost, but the initial upfront cost is going to be a little bit less and still have that clean air kind of thing. But in my opinion, depending on your budget, I think the bagless is a little bit better. But I understand everybody's on a different budget, and yeah, you're paying more now to save money later, and that isn't always an option for everybody. But those are the important things to think about. These are going to be your best bang for the buck in terms of power, features, all that, and how much you pay for it. It's always going to be your traditional vacuum. Now, some other traditional vacuums that you might be thinking about is like, what about those like rug doctors you rent from the grocery store or that sort of thing where it uses water? And those technically aren't vacuum cleaners, and those are only specifically for carpet, not for other kinds of flooring, and they're called a carpet cleaner, and that's what they're doing, is they're actually cleaning the carpet. It's not for like if you spill Cheerios and stuff to like clean that up real quick with the vacuum. So I'm not going to talk about those because it's kind of a different category. I will put a link in the description to one that's only $100, and I was actually watching some videos and I was surprised that it cleans just as well as some of the more expensive ones, like those ones you rent. It's a little bit smaller, so it'd take a while to do a whole home, but I thought that was really cool. I'll put the link in the description for that. But let's move on to the next category, which is going to be a canister vacuum. It's very similar to this, where like this is your canister and this is your vacuum, and there's a head on there, and you vacuum and you have this like main unit. And the idea is they're trying to make like a blend of like this stick vacuum but still have the power of this guy, and it's kind of an older idea, and in my opinion they're kind of being phased out, and I actually don't really like them at all. But you have a canister and then you have something you clean up with, and you kind of have to lug the canister around. The only time that I would actually recommend this or think it's a good idea is if you live in a super dense city and you have a 1-bedroom studio where literally your kitchen and your bed is in the same room. It's just 4 walls in the whole thing and there's nothing else. Because you could just put your canister in one spot, vacuum everything up, and you don't have to move anything around. That's when it makes sense. But if you're living in a house or an apartment with a couple rooms, I just personally don't like the canister vacuums. That was the first vacuum I bought. It was a canister Dyson because I lived in a small apartment, and I'm like, oh yeah, this will be great. And I ended up hating it. Really didn't like it. I felt like it wasn't as powerful as the traditional ones, and it just was like a pain in the butt for me. So that's just my personal opinion. Those are out there. Now, another kind of vacuum that's similar to this traditional vacuum is what a commercial vacuum, and it's the same kind of vacuum as this upright vacuum, but those have a specific use where they're made to run like 8 hours a day. So if you have like a hotel and you have people that are cleaning the rooms, and they're literally going to be running this vacuum for like 8 hours a day. That's where you want to go into the commercial use. For this video, I'm talking to like people out there that are buying this for their condo, apartment, or home. So I'm not going to get into those and go over that. But when you see those like Oryx or those older school ones and you're like, huh, what are those? And why don't I see those like talked about much? That is what those are intended for and made. Is if you tried to run this all day long, you're probably going to run into issues. And there's pros and cons there. But again, I just wanted to bring it up in case you were thinking that, but I didn't want to get into the weeds and the details with that. So now let's talk about the new latest and greatest craze is these cordless vacuums. Obviously the big difference is there's no cord. There's actually a little battery right here and it runs the vacuum, which as you might suspect, you're going to be giving up some power, or if you're going to have them, you know, close to equal in power, you're going to pay a lot of money for that. But they're a lot more portable and they're pretty cool. Now, there are technically two different kinds of cordless vacuums. One being a stick vacuum, where basically they're saying that this piece right here is the stick. And the reason why that's important is these are super easy to get around corners and to get into tight spaces. You know, this guy getting underneath the bed, this huge thing is going to get in the way, where I can really slide this underneath the bed real easy, or a desk or something. And they do actually have cordless vacuums like the Shark ION P50 that look more like this. They stand up on their own and they have a big piece here, but they are technically a battery vacuum. So that's the two different kinds of cordless vacuums, but most of them that you're going to see out there are going to be a cordless stick vacuum. And last but definitely not least is the robot vacuums. Now, unfortunately, at the time I made this video, these robot vacuums can't go up and down stairs. And that's their big downfall. You know, if you live in a bi-level home, or a home like mine where I actually have 5 different levels separated by stairs. I know it's a crazy floor plan, but in order to be able to actually use robot vacuums, I would need 5 of them to be able to do everything. Otherwise, I'm going to be lugging them from floor to floor, moving them around. So for my house, they're really not a good option. However, if you live in a 1-story ranch with no basement, yeah, I would definitely say that's a really good option because it vacuums for you. I mean, it's the future. It's awesome. I can't wait till they make it to where it can go up and down stairs. And these things just get better and better. You know, this is 2020 when I made this. If it's 5 years from now, they probably have some really cool stuff out there because it's every year they just get so much better. All right, so now I'm briefly just gonna go over some different categories real quick to kind of give you an idea of how this all plays out. Okay, so when it comes to price, your best bang for your buck, the traditional upright vacuum is gonna give you the most suction power, the most features at the lowest cost. Next is going to be your cordless vacuums, and then lastly it's going to be those robot vacuums. So just like I said with price, same thing with power. These are the most powerful, followed by the stick vacuums, followed by the robot vacuums. What I mean by that is like when you kind of look at different price points, you know, if they're both $300, a $300 stick vacuum versus a $300 upright vacuum, this one's going to be a lot more powerful, be able to clean better. Same thing when it comes to the robot vacuums. Just to make sure you understand that, because I know people are going to be like, oh, well actually, you know, there's a robot vacuum that's cheaper than this vacuum. So when you say that that's a lower price, you're not right. What I mean is like, yeah, but you can get a cheaper upright vacuum than the very cheapest robot vacuum. All right, so something that I don't think a lot of people think about when they buy a vacuum is you're gonna have to fix these and maintain them. All vacuums are gonna get clogged, especially if you have pets or women live in the house and they have long hair. You're gonna get stuff tangled up in the bristles and they're gonna need some maintenance. They're gonna get clogged. And, you know, at the very least, you have to empty the canister or change out the bag or something. So in those terms, the robot vacuums definitely are going to need the most maintenance. You have to empty them a lot more because the canister's smaller. The bristles definitely get clogged more. These things take some time to learn. You know, even if you get a nice one that maps stuff out, you're going to see certain parts of your house. Oh, it's getting stuck underneath the couch. I need to figure that out, program it not to go underneath the couch. Or if you get like under $200 ones where it's just randomly going around and doesn't have that mapping feature, you gotta like put up a barrier. Some of them use like little strips and stuff, but you gotta spend time maintaining it. Now obviously with the robot vacuums, you're still probably gonna come out on top because you don't actually have to vacuum, but that is something to think about. Like, it's not just, oh, I never have to worry about vacuuming again. It's like, no, you're gonna have to maintain and fix this guy and get it unstuck and program it and figure things out with it. And then obviously it's smaller, it has a smaller opening, it's more likely to get clogged. This has the biggest opening, less likely to get clogged. This is in the middle. So you'll have to maintain this the least, then this guy, then this guy. You can just think of it as biggest canister, medium canister, small canister, but all the things in between, you know, these bristles are a lot bigger stronger. The motor's actually pulling it. A lot of these remote ones just work on airflow, so they get clogged a lot easier. So when it comes to maintenance, good, better, best. Now, ease of use is something that I really didn't think about. Kind of a background, we have this, you know, nice Dyson vacuum. My wife's like, oh, I want to get one of them cordless ones. I'm like, it's such a waste of money. Like, there's no point. We already have a vacuum. Why do it? But then I realized there's a lot of value in the cordless vacuums. Just because it's easier to use, we use it a lot more. And I drastically underestimated how important that factor was. So I'll give you a couple examples. One is, if I'm in the pantry and I spill some food on the floor, in my head, I'm probably gonna grab a broom or just pick it up with my hands rather than going and finding this guy, whether it's in a closet or the laundry room, undoing the long cord, plugging it in, vacuuming it, lugging it back down, wrapping up the cord. It just seems like a lot of work. Versus these guys, you know, normally are just hung right up on the wall and you just grab them, do it real quick. I mean, this is in my kitchen, so it's a little bit unfair, but normally you're gonna store this in a place where it's not gonna be seen, where this can actually get stored in a place that is seen more. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like that's gonna be the case. But just the fact that it's easier to use makes you want to use it more. You know, I've never actually vacuumed out my office with this guy. Luckily, we're in a position every couple weeks we have someone come clean our house. But now that it's so easy with this guy, I just grab it, vacuum it out real quick. Where I live, we actually had this weird phenomenon where like we had this like crazy amount of moths that happened for like 1 month. I guess it happens like every 10 years or something, but suddenly we had a bunch of moths in the house. And you know, I'm trying to catch those with my hand rather than trying to get this guy out, you know, undo the cord, bring this out and suck it up. But that's where this guy like really shined, was you can just throw a quick attachment right here and we were just get the moth. It was just really nice. And then I realized, oh, I guess you can do that with spiders and stuff too. The ease of use makes this really good, and that it has multiple applications. So you could use this to clean out your car, to vacuum something off of a countertop, where you can do it with this guy, but because it's such a heavy thing to lug around and just the fact that you got to undo the cord and put it back, I just don't do it. So ease of use for just vacuuming is obviously going to go to the robot, then this guy, then this guy. But when it comes to like application methods, like how much you can use it for different things, this is definitely king, then this guy, and then all that's going to do is vacuum floor surfaces. You know, you can't get the dust off your ceiling fan with that guy, where you can do it with these guys. Alright, so now I'm just going to give some general buying guidelines for you. So I'll put the links in the description. I'm going to go over 3 different levels for each one of these types of vacuums. So when it comes to the robot vacuum, you can actually get a pretty decent robot vacuum for under $200. Now in that price range, these are going to be the vacuums that don't do the mapping and don't have that like app. So they're basically randomly just cruising around your floor and hopefully hit all the spots and clean it. Now, they are pretty impressive and still good at that price range. I'm actually going to link 4, one for $150, one for $160, one for $170, and one for $200. And at that price range, it's actually pretty impressive how far we've come and how good they are. Now, one thing to know about the robot vacuums is the Roomba has a patent on these bristles. I don't know, it's like 2 bristles that go opposite ways. I'm really not sure what it is. All I know is that it agitates the carpet and is able to clean the carpet pretty much better than all the others. With that being said, when you get above that $200 level, now we're in that like $300 to $500 level, that's where I would definitely recommend, if you can afford it, go into that range, because that's where you have the mapping and that's where you can tell it, you know, don't hit the water bowl with the dog so it doesn't spill water, and don't get stuck under the couch, and whatever else scenario comes up. And in my humble opinion, I just think the 2 best brands in that category are going to be Roomba and Roborock. You know, Roborock's got the 4, 5, and 6. They're all good, and the Roombas are good, and you can tell by like the reviews and stuff. There are some other brands, and some of them are better than others, but I think if you stick with those brands, you're going to have good results and be happy with your purchase, where other ones might be a little bit more risky. Another thing to note with the smart robots is they can use either LiDAR or they can use cameras to be able to see things and know where to go. And if it uses a camera, it's going to need light. And if you're telling it to clean in the middle of the night when you're sleeping and there's not enough light, you might run into some issues. So the LiDAR ones don't have that issue. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping for one and your specific application use. Now, if you're going to spend more and go into the high-end category for the robot vacuums, I would personally get the Roomba i7 Plus, I think it is. It's the one that has a docking station that sucks the canister out each time it docks. It's smart, it does all the bells and whistles, and it's still at a pretty good price point for everything that it can do. That's just my humble opinion. That's the one that I would go with. I know Shark makes one. I know Roomba even has a S9 Plus, but I don't think they've worked all the kinks out, and it just isn't as liked as the other ones, and then you're paying a little bit more. The Shark one is actually a little bit more cost effective, but some people just had some issues with it and didn't like it. It's still a really good vacuum though at that price point. I think it's like loud, and you know, like I said, the Roombas actually clean the carpet better than all other robot vacuums. That's a big reason why I'd stick with that one, and that's the one I would get. So do some research on it. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I bet you Dyson, they've been making a couple robot ones. I know they're releasing one in Europe, but not here yet. But I bet you in the next few years, they might have the top of the line best one. But of course, you're going to be paying a ridiculous amount of money for it. All right, now let's talk about these stick vacuums. If you want the most cost effective Moosoo one, it's only $118, $120. It's awesome. Definitely get that guy. Now, if you want to go up to the next category, I would say go with the Sharks. I'll put a couple links in the description. The P50, the F80, great vacuums. And if you want top of the line best one, you know, brand that started all this stick cordless vacuum thing is going to be the Dysons, but those are obviously the most expensive. And the big downside even with the best Dyson is if you want really the best cleaning for carpet and really the best cleaning for hardwood, you got to swap the heads. Where Shark has that advantage to where it has one head and has both of those rollers on there. And like I said, I think they have a patent so that other companies can't do that. I could be wrong on that though. Maybe Dyson will come out with one, but Dyson is going to clean better. It's got more suction. It is definitely better in terms of that. So there's that to consider as well. Okay, now when it comes to the upright vacuums, like I already mentioned, Eureka and Bristle have the best. Bottom $60 to $100, has a lot of bells and whistles, good features, good function, stands the test of time. That's where you're gonna wanna be. Okay, so for upright vacuums, the middle of the road is definitely gonna go to Shark. And I know, at least traditionally, Shark has been very popular for cleaning businesses because they're a good value and they do a great job. And we're talking like $170 to about $220, and you're gonna get more or less for that price range. So there's two specialized needs that you might want. So the 170 is the Shark Navigator, and it's just a basic vacuum, and it has a normal bristle, we'll call it, for just cleaning carpet. Now there's two things that you might want to pay more for that it can offer. One being less maintenance, less likely to get tangled in hair. So like I said, all vacuums, you're eventually gonna have to maintain them. You're eventually gonna have to clean this bristle out and get the hair that's stuck on it off. But Shark has one called 0M, which stands for zero maintenance, and it does a really good job at reducing how often you have to clean it and not getting hair tangled up into it. So if hair and tangling is something that's common for you, maybe your last vacuum burned out and broke because of a tangle, I would definitely recommend it. Even if you don't have a lot of pets or women with long hair, it's just nice to do less maintenance. So to get that 0M is gonna cost an extra $30. They have a Navigator with the 0M head on it for $200. Now another application that might be interested to you is if you don't have primarily carpet. If you have 50% or more of hardwood or tile or something like that, and you don't plan to sweep it, you wanna vacuum it, then you'd want to go with a duo head from Shark. And most of those duo heads are in that next price category, but they do have one with the standard bristle and an extra head in the front. It's a soft roller head that's good for hardwood for about $200, so you can get that. Unfortunately, at this price category, you can't get the duo head that has the 0M head with the head for the hardwood floor. You got to jump up to that next category for that, but depending on what your needs are, that's that middle of the line road. I would just say, in my opinion, go with Shark. They're really good. They last a long time. They do the job really well. That's what I think in my opinion. Now, one more little thing with that, you'll hear the lift away. So you'll see like, oh, it's like $20 or $30 more for the same vacuum, but it has lift away on it. What that means is you can lift away the big compartment so you can get underneath stuff easier. If you want to pay extra for that, you can. Again, it's about $20 or $30 more. Same model, same vacuum. And the lift away allows you to do that. I have heard or read on some of them that you lose a little bit of power with the lift aways, but I wouldn't worry about it. It's just if that feature is worth paying the extra money for you, go ahead and do it. All right, now let's talk about the high-end best vacuums for the upright, which are definitely going to be the strongest in terms of suction, being able to clean really well. And there's basically three that I'll put in the description and talk about. So since we just talked about Shark, it's the Shark Apex with the Duo head, and it's got the 0M and then the head for the hardwood floor. It's about $370, $380, and it's a great vacuum. It does really well, has a lot of suction, it's gonna clean great, all around great vacuum. Now the Dyson Animal 2, the one that I have right here, in some ways it's better than the Shark, but in other ways it's worse than the Shark. So this is gonna be better for really getting small particles and stuff removed from your carpet. This is gonna outdo the Shark. Now where it's not gonna do as well is on hardwood floor and stuff. Because of the way that this is designed in the head, it just doesn't pick up big particles as well. It tends to push them around. And because it actually has so much suction and power, sometimes it scatters stuff rather than picking it up. So I would say if you have a ton of hardwood and you plan on not sweeping it, I would say the Shark, go with that $380 Shark over this guy. But when it comes to deep cleaning carpet and removing dirt and dust from your carpet, this guy is king of the land. It's going to be the best. And these are about $400, and I would go with the Dyson if that's your main concern. You know, if you have a lot of carpet, it's dirty, you really want to clean it, Dyson's going to do the best there. There is one more thing to think about between the Dyson and the Shark, and if you're really prone to allergies and you're really worried about sucking up dust and letting that get into the air, both of them have HEPA filters, which is great, and both do a really good job, but the Dyson does leak a little bit. It doesn't have a perfect airtight seal, so some of that will get back into the air. It's nothing major, but if that is something important to you, the Shark is actually going to be better at having a seal there. The Shark is a little bit less powerful, not as much suction, and it's not going to deep clean your carpet as well, but I mean, it's going to do a pretty darn good job. So that's that top of the end category. Now there is one more vacuum I'll talk about, and to be honest, I don't know a ton about it, but it's got to be mentioned in the vacuum video. It's the Coredy. So Coredy, they have a totally different marketing strategy. A lot of it is door-to-door sales. I'll tell you what I do know about it. One is it's extremely expensive. They're difficult to buy. You have to basically, you can't just go on Amazon and buy them. You can get it in the used market, but I won't get too much into that, but they're a lot more expensive. And one of the reasons why is they're not made from plastic. This is pretty much all plastic. Same with the Shark vacuum, and it's got a lot of metal and just more sturdy parts. Now, it does have more suction. You know, I'm talking about the newer ones. There's a lot of models. It does have more suction, but I've heard some controversy on that. And what I mean by that is when you have a pad of carpet and this is sucking and basically the airflow is restricted, this is going to continue to suck really hard, where a Coredy apparently, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but once that suction is restricted, it kind of doesn't have as much power as a Dyson. I'm not sure on that, but I've heard, you know, when they do the test, like use your vacuum and then vacuum that, it kind of depends on which kind of carpet you're on. If you lay down a rug, the Coredy is going to do better on the rug versus a Dyson. But if you have something with, you know, a pad underneath, possibly the Dyson does better. I haven't tested this. I don't know. I do know the Coredy, it's very versatile. You can do a lot of different things with it, at least the newest one, where you can actually use it as a carpet cleaner. You can use it as a canister. You can use it as a regular vacuum. You can adjust the heads to do different kinds of flooring, and it's got a lot of versatility. I don't know for sure that one is better. I would hope with the price you're paying for the Coredy, it is a lot better. And again, I'm not 100% sure, but I would suspect that it is better. I mean, I do think, you know, at least it's gonna last longer. I'm sure in some application methods that it is better, and maybe in some others it's not, but I would say overall it's probably a better machine if you want to really pay up a ton of money for a vacuum. So there is that option for you, but I feel like most people are going to go with something that you can buy easily and is a lot less in price, but I definitely wanted to mention that. All right guys, so I hope this helped you understand the different types of vacuums and helped you figure out which kind of vacuum you want to buy based on your specific wants and needs. If there's something I missed, please let me know in the comments, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.